Hope this morning finds you well rested, getting ready for a great day. Um, I've decided to take this day to focus on Giving Tuesday. Um, we've got an extra day in the Art of Peace, so we've got 14 more days of stanzas, but we have 15 more days worth of weeks. So might as well end on a Friday. So yesterday's training about mantra and the internal narrative will be reconnected with tomorrow. But today I just want to talk about honor in the digital age. And I want to start this conversation by going back to the Civil War. So during the Civil War, what really shook the entire nation was the size and scope of what the war actually represented. It it's impossible to conceive of the numbers that were involved in the Civil War. Every town, every home, everybody um, played a role, North and South, sending loved ones to the front. So what happened was the government at that time was pretty small in comparison to what it became. And so what happened was they would muster these soldiers, they'd put them in regiments, and then they'd train them up and send them off to fight. Well, the battles that took place were inconceivable beforehand. They had no idea that this would be what war would be like. And so when you would have these battles, you'd have tens of thousands of people killed or severely injured, and no one was prepared. Medical staff wasn't prepared, leadership wasn't prepared, but most of all, soldiers weren't prepared. And by that I mean there was no dog tags back in during the Civil War. There wasn't even a routine for how to identify soldiers. And so what happened was a nation went to war and experienced death and dying at a scale that they never would conceive of. And so they were left after the war with some really, really challenging situations. And the biggest challenge that they faced after the war was what to do with all the dead. So you have to imagine that all over Virginia, some places in the South, some places in the North, Gettysburg, of course, were strewn with bodies that were essentially decaying in shallow graves. They were decaying in shallow graves. They were unmarked. They were all. I mean, they were just. Just imagine. Just imagine hundreds of thousands of bodies just kind of buried in shallow graves. I mean, they had these details at the end of battles that would go about and just kind of just bury these bodies. It just was not. There wasn't routine. There wasn't policy. There wasn't anything. So anyway, what we were left with at the end of that war, at the end of the Civil War, was a real problem, and that problem was how much responsibility does the government and its people take over the dead? And what we did after the Civil War was we created rules and routines and structures for how to honor the dead. And we created things like the dog tag. We created things like policies and procedures that all officers had to follow. And we took it upon ourselves to do better. And so after the Civil War, Decoration Day began. So Decoration Day was a day where we would decorate the graves of the fallen. That day ended up becoming Memorial Day. And Memorial Day is, a time where we honor our nation's fallen by giving them our undivided attention. And, it's almost as though if we honor them, we remember, and if we remember, we make sure that we keep giving. If there's anything that we can, if there's any one thing that we can all give freely to. It's to those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. There's no politics there. There's simply giving. And so um, that has evolved. And so now, one of the things that we see in our culture is the notion that honoring the fallen by name, giving them their remembrance by name, is a fundamentally important thing. I talk to lots of Gold Star family members, and they often say there's a fear of a second death. And the first death, of course, is when their service member died in service to the nation. But the second death is that they should be forgotten, that their name should be forgotten. Something about a name, saying names. And so what we do, what Armor Down does every Memorial Day, is we honor all of our nation's post 9/11 fallen. Now, this is expanded to include all wars. We're still young; we're only about 8 years old, but we've expanded to include all wars, and we've started engaging with the Civil War as a extension of the service member identity. That we are service members not just for the wars that we fight in, but all American wars. We are part of all American wars because the dog tag I wore in a battle in Iraq is the dog tag that became about because of the Civil War to begin with. Without the Civil War, without the ways that that war impacted the nation, I wouldn't have been the soldier that I was. And you wouldn't be the service members and the civilians that you are. And so, what we do when we honor the fallen in mindful ways with the Mindful Memorial Foundation is we make sure that we say those names. We say those names out loud, we respect them, and we give them our undivided attention. Now, this has happened before, but what's unique about today and what's unique about the modern world is that we can honor these names and we can honor these memories in a digital way. So we can't obviously go to these places because of the pandemic. We have to find ways to give of ourselves in ways that are safe and appropriate, but also ways that match the time. And that's what Giving Tuesday is all about. You know, we can talk a lot of bad things about social media, but there's a lot of good things too. And one of those good things are the ability to share of yourself through different means, whether it's a post or a like or whatever, but also by cold hard cash, straight up money. You can take your money and send it to organizations like Armor Down's nonprofit, the Mindful Memorial Day Foundation, or excuse me, the Mindful Memorial Foundation. It's a official 501c3. If you go onto our Facebook, there's the link right there. Make a donation, and that donation goes straight to the foundation. And that foundation will continue to honor the names of the fallen by saying them out loud and creating other ways to mindfully honor the fallen. So, with that, I will end today's post. I just wanted to um, put that out there. Help us by giving of yourself. Give in a way that is modern, but at the same time connects to everything. So, with that, I will call it a day. Thank you so much for paying attention and considering sharing some of your goodwill and honor with the Mindful Memorial Foundation. Thank you for participating in Giving Tuesday, and we will be back to our regular scheduled programming tomorrow. All right, Armor Down. Thanks for all your help and support. See you tomorrow.